Rather than lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. Welcome back to a brand new video. And welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk. And we are talking Arsenal always on the channel. But this is where I do talk about a couple of things that I think at times make sense and at times they do not make sense for Arsenal and they do not make sense for me. We're going to talk about Elneny, Nketiah and Matteo Guendouzi and why I think or I do not understand what is going on with Arsenal and the way we offer new contract extensions, the basis on which we offer contract extensions, and the basis on which some players leave the club even though you feel they're good enough, and when they go out there, they really perform very well and they play some good football. So first and foremost, let's talk about Mohamed Elneny. Elneny did extend his contract with Arsenal 1 year with an option to extend for another year. I don't want to look. I do not want to sound as if I hate Mohamed Elneny or I don't like Mohamed Elneny or I have something against him. But if Arsenal are extending the contract of Mohamed Elneny by a year, then Matteo Guendouzi should be staying at Arsenal, should be playing for Arsenal, should be around this club for another 5, 6, 7 years. Yes, I understand there were a couple of problems between him and the manager, and that's why Nketiah sent him out on loan in Germany, and then to Marseille, and now he's signing on a permanent. But the feeling I had when Mikel was pushing out the likes of Matteo Guendouzi, the likes of William Saliba, the likes of Socrates Papastopoulos, many players who are not good enough for this club, was we are trying to clear out the deadwood. We are trying to clear out players that have had long-term contracts at Arsenal and they need to move on. And the fact that right now Elneny is signing another year on his contract, it absolutely does not make sense when Guendouzi is going for 10 million to Marseille, when Lucas Torreira is going to sign for Fiorentina for 7 million. Those two, for me, in my opinion, are better players. There would be better players. There would be better options coming off the bench. And this is no disrespect to Mohamed Elneny. I think he's really done a great job in terms of covering for Thomas Partey. And also, as a player, he's very, he has a very good character. I think he's a little bit mature and everything. But if I start looking at quality, if you're looking at someone who is going to back up Thomas Partey, there is no way Mohamed Elneny is going to be the man, because Partey, 90% of the Arsenal fan base right now will agree with me. Partey is not going to play for you 90% of the games in a campaign. He's not even going to play for you 80% of the games in a league campaign. So you need someone to back him up. You need someone who's a little bit reliable in terms of quality, not only discipline. Elneny is very, very disciplined, and maybe that's one of the reasons why he stayed at the club and he's impressed Mikel Arteta and everyone. But for me, I'm not impressed. Do not keep Mohamed Elneny. Do not keep Alexander Lacazette. Do not keep NKETIA. Do not keep them. Actually, to an extent, I would let players like Rob Holding as well live, because we're trying to clear this squad. We're trying to make it better. And for me, when you keep Mohamed Elneny, it just kills the vision and the version of the story you're trying to sell. You're clearing out deadwood. You're trying to make this team better. You're trying to raise the standards at the club. And Thomas Partey is not going to be available. And you've seen it. Mohamed Elneny has come in this season to cover for Thomas Partey. He's done well on a few occasions. But generally, the job is too big. What Thomas Partey offers this football club is too big. And the reasoning of Arsenal's reasoning and Mikel Arteta's reasoning with Edu, they've decided that Elneny will continue backing up Thomas Partey, because Elneny played 2-3 good games against Man United and Chelsea when Partey was away. That is absolutely ridiculous. We are going to have more games next season. That guarantees you that Thomas Partey might get injured earlier into the season than he did this season, because this season was only playing in the Premier League. So if he gets if he gets injured 17 games into the campaign, 18 games into the campaign, what do? Do you play the rest of the 12, the rest of the 17 games with Mohamed Elneny? It doesn't make any sense for me. So Mohamed Elneny's contract makes no sense. Absolutely makes no sense. And I think Arsenal should really rethink. Of course, they're not going to cancel it, but they should rethink and think before doing some things, because there's no way you're going to tell fans next season that Partey is injured and we're losing games because Partey is not on the pitch. That is because that, for me, numerically, statistically, the reason as to why we didn't qualify for the UEFA Europa League, for the UEFA Champions League, was the lack of Thomas Partey in that midfield. A ball controller, a midfield controller, someone to give you that ability in that pivot, the strength, the legs, the energy, the charisma. We lacked all that when Thomas Partey fell into the sick bay. And Elneny coming in for 1 or 2 good games and then being absolute shit against Newcastle, being absolute shit in the rest of the games, and we give him a new contract. It doesn't make any sense for me. It doesn't make any sense for me. Now, look, if Arsenal don't let go of Matteo Guendouzi and we keep him and we keep Elneny as well, I would be fine, because I know Elneny doesn't become the only option. But the moment Mohamed Elneny is going to Marseille and Elneny signs a new contract, it means whenever Thomas Partey gets injured, there is one player to fall. There is one place to fall onto. There is one player to call onto, and that's Mohamed Elneny. Arsenal, that is ridiculous. And you know what else is ridiculous? Is Nketiah has been offered a 100k contract per week, £100,000 per week. That is absolutely ridiculous. Now, listen. We understand Mikel is a big fan of Nketiah. He's been trying to convince him to stay at the club for so long. And, look, I understand all the context. He has scored 4 goals in 5 games. At the end of the season, it's been absolutely brilliant. But this is the problem that we've been suffering. And that's why I think Edu at times needs to be a little bit scrutinized. Because, look, the problem we've had is we always settle for what is not good enough. And we believe it is good enough. Xhaka, he had a good season, he's going to stay. Nketiah, he scored a few goals, he's going to stay. There is no way you're convincing me to keep Nketiah, because Nketiah, you're going to keep him for 38 games. If you give him 38 games in a campaign, he's going to average 12 goals. He's going to average 13 goals per campaign. The 5 goals he scored, look, Nketiah has not got his chances only this season. He's been around, and I feel the time for him to prove to us that he's a big team player, that is that fits into a club like Arsenal. He's not done it. He's not done it. Now when we want to compete at the highest level, now when we want to find our footing, try to compete for the Europa League, try to compete for these other domestic cups, as we prepare ourselves to go back to competing for the Premier League, we resign Nketiah on 100k per week. That is absolutely, I don't get that. I really don't get that. For me, the reasoning, lads, is, and the truth is, Nketiah should have left the club on a free. Lacazette should have left the club on a free as well. Lacazette has left. That has been a very, very good decision. Nketiah should be leaving as well. There is no reason as to why Nketiah stays. There is no reason. If you want someone to back whoever is going to come in as striker, bring in Florian Balogun and try to nurture him into your third, into becoming your third striker, because he can do that. You can play him in the Europa League. You can play him in the cup competitions, but not Nketiah. Not Nketiah. This is one where Arsenal have shot themselves in the foot, and I won't be very surprised if Arsenal bring in one striker and back him with Nketiah, and the next summer we are all over the place trying to find another striker. It's ridiculous. Those two contract situations, Elneny and NKETIA, are ridiculous. What I would do, get him out. Get them out, both of them. It's not because they're the worst players in the world. It's because we can do better without them. With Mohamed Elneny, I think I've always talked about Boubacar Kamara. He's there, and you can also bring in Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. I think he could sign on a free. You can bring in Douglas Luiz, and he can do the job for you. With Nketiah, there's so many other, there's so many options. There are very many options. You don't need many strikers. You need one or two strikers that can do the job for you. Gabriel Jesus and probably Victor Osimhen, or Gabriel Jesus and Gianluca Scamacca, or whoever you bring in that role. So for me, lads, it is not good business. The way we started the transfer window is not that promising, quoting those two deals. But anyway, share with me your thoughts in the comment section. I'll be glad to listen.